I love dragons and death, 'cause they are fun. Okay, this chapter was fun. Like, it's really hard not to like Arya, because the thing about Arya, like, just in a nutshell, is she is as punk rock as Jon Snow is emo. Like, she's full on tomboy. I really wish I had a brown wig and stuff, but I don't. So I looked around, so I just kind of put on a little punk rocker beanie, right? Anyway, hopefully that'll be like enough. Also, from the last video, I need to put these on, a little bit of a history that I missed. When Ned is talking with with his wife, Caitlin, he mentions that he doesn't want to go south because when his father went south, he never came back because him, his brother and his dad went down there and were both, killed. So that was part of it. Also, just a little bit of names and places as far as Stark Castle. There, Roderick is the master of arms there, and there's a guy, Poole, who also he like oversees a bunch of stuff, and that's gonna come into play in a minute. Also, I forgot to introduce, I want to say Calgain is his name. It's very close to that. But he's a burned knight, and he was riding up with the Lannisters and King Bobby. But like half of his face is burned, and I'm pretty sure his name's Calgain. But he's also a knight, and he got disfigured when he was younger. Okay. So it starts, apparently there's like septas, and the jobs for these septas are to teach girls how to be girly, like noble, whatever. So they're stuck in this sewing room, and Arya's sitting there, and she's trying to stitch and sew and stuff, and her stitches are crooked, and she's just like, blah, screw sewing, like she's not having it. She doesn't like it. And, to make this better, she's stuck in a room full of girls. I keep wanting to say Marceline, but the princess is there. Princess Marcella. I'm going to just call her Marceline for right now. I'll fix it later. Anyway, she's sitting there, so the septa's basically treating them like they don't exist, because she gets to treat a princess, So she's just fawning over her and stuff. Arya even notices like her stitching's not that good either. Like, it's pretty crooked, and the septa's just like, oh, this is beautiful, and like laughing at all her jokes, just totally like nose up the butt, right? And then as Arya is thinking about it and stuff, and she's being kind of jealous of Sansa, because I guess as much as like Arya's like this punk rock tomboy, like Sansa is the opposite. She's the girliest girl ever. Like, she plays the harp, she plays the bells, her needlework and her stitching's like super pretty. And like they also mention like almost all the kids, and I'll expand on this a little bit later, they all look like their mom. So, they have like the red hair and the pretty smiles and high cheekbones and stuff. And then Arya, they described her as long-faced, and she's just got like dull brown hair, which I didn't have a brown wig. I'm super sorry. And stuff, but this is going to come into play because Sansa's sitting there, and she's got her girl Beth Castle, who is the master of arms, Roderick. That's his daughter, or his little sister, right? And then there's this other girl that she hangs out with all the time named Jenny Poole, right? And she's the daughter of like the headmaster, the overseer, the quartermaster, or, you know, like the dude. And sorry, but I guess they're like a little like girl squad, and especially Jenny Poole, she's like the mean girl, you know, because like they mention she actually used to call Arya horse face when she'd come around and neigh at her and stuff. Meanwhile, Sansa is, you know, like the prissy, like kind of perfect girly girl and stuff. So she just like acts condescending and like she's above it all and just stays being perfect, which massively annoys Arya to no extent. Like, they actually mentioned like the only two things that kind of bug Sansa or whatever is Arya's better at riding horses and math, and that's it. But pretty much Sansa wins every other girly competition. But they're sitting there and she's like sewing and they're like kind of whispering to each other and stuff, and you know, like she sees Jenny kind of like look over and then they're like you know how little girls get and stuff, and Arya's like, what you talking about, you know, because she thinks talking about her. And then they're like, oh, da da da, and she's like, tell me, you know, and they're like looking out for the septa and stuff because they don't want to get busted for talking, you know. But the septa's over there just still fawning, you know. She's just like, oh, blah blah blah, you're such a lady, you know, to the princess. So like they're kind of on mute. So the, you know, they're talking. Beth is a little bit younger and she's like at her feet and stuff. She's like, we're talking about the prince, you know, and they're swooning over Joffrey, you know, because he's got like the long blonde hair and whatever, and he acted like he was better than everyone and stuff. So, you know, they're just like, oh, he's so pretty and blah blah blah, and he likes Sansa, you know. And like the way like Jen is saying it, it's like she had a part in it, you know, like. But they're all going and whatnot, and then they try to pull like Arya into their like girly swooning and stuff, and they're like, oh, don't you think he's so gallant, you know, because he's the prince and he likes Sansa, so, you know, like they're gonna get married. And Arya being pretty punk rock, she's just like, John says he looks like a girl. You know, like, and that's kind of funny that John even said that, because like emo kid confirmed, he's just like, that dude looks like a girl, you know. But anyway, Sansa gets a little whatever, and she's like, I'm so sad, because she's being passive aggressive, like that's the way I read it. She's just like, I'm so sad that John gets jealous because he's a bastard. And Arya, like, I instantly get the sense like Arya and John are kind of, and it gets confirmed a little later, but she's like, that's your brother, you know, like just right in her shit. And the Septa's like, what are you guys talking about? And Sansa's not playing it cool very well. She's just like, oh, we were just discussing my half brother, you know, and like passive aggressively corrects it and stuff. And we were talking about how lucky we are that the princess is practicing with us, you know, like just shine that little apple polisher. And Septa's like, nah, something's up, you know. So she's like, Arya, let me see your work. Why are you talking? And Arya knows these stitches are crooked and whatnot, and she just picks it up and she's like, this won't do, you know. And it's important to note this is like a real sore spot, because Sansa, you know, had like the real pretty whatever, and she's like, it's because she has such elegant hands and whatnot. And Caitlyn asked the Septa, you know, their mom, was like, what about Arya? And she's like, she has the hands of a blacksmith, you know, like, and just dissed her, right? So she notices everybody's staring at her, And even the princess over there is like kind of giving her like a "I'm sorry for you" look and stuff. So she about to cry, like she's getting emotional because she's frustrated that she can't do it. So instead of like breaking down or anything, she's like, "Fuck this, I'm out, fuck these people," right? And she starts running for the door, like she's just, "I'm done." And the Septa's yelling at her, and she's like, "You can't leave, da da da. Are you kidding me? Why are you acting out in front of the princess? You're making all of us look bad." And that actually makes Arya pause for a second, and she just like does like a little curtsy, towards the princess, and she's like, "By your leave," like just like nothing personal. I gotta go, And she locks up. Like the princess is just like, "I don't know how to handle this awkwardness," and like starts looking at her ladies and attending. And luckily the Septa jumps on it, and she's like, "And where do you think you're going?" And Arya, just being punk rock, she's just like, "I gotta go shoe a horse," and she's gone. She just takes off, and she's running to her room. And the reason she's running to her room is because of the wolf pups. Like she's bonded super hard, and like it even kind of implies that she feels like her wolf might be the only one who loves her, so she's like, "All right, like I'm gonna go hang out with my puppy." And the puppy just straight up like sleeps at the foot of her bed and everything, and she's untying it and it's licking her hands, and like it's like, "Yeah, that's my human, what's up," And it's important to note that while they're talking about it, she names her wolf Nymeria, which is kind of a name of like yet another punk rocker and stuff, that she was like a warrior queen who came across the narrow sea, and that was a whole scandal and stuff. So basically, like, she named her wolf Joan Jett, and Sansa, on the other hand, like named her wolf Lady, so they're like just showing it. But she's like, "Bet they come in, they're gonna find us, let's go," to Nymeria. And Nymeria is just like, "Say no more, fam, we going," because she knows that while they gotta practice like all the girly stuff and like practice sewing and stuff, the boys are out having fun, to like her, and they're practicing like sword play and stuff like that. And also, and I think this is specifically because Sansa likes Joffrey, she wants to go see Joffrey get knocked on his butt. And while she's running and stuff, she's thinking, and like he's sweet on her, and they're like sweet together because they sat together at the thing. And there's his little brother Tomlin, who's kind of chunky. He's like a little chunky guy, and so that's who Arya got stuck with. So she was like, meh, and he's also pretty young. Arya is 9 in this, so she's like a little 9-year-old. She's got 9-year-old feelings, right? So she's running, she goes, and she's sneaking up, like above, like there's kind of like looking down on the courtyard, that I wasn't sure if there was like a porch or there was like a building or whatever, but like she's sneaking up high, so they're looking down on the courtyard. But John's there, right? And he's all emoed out and stuff. Like they say, like he's like relaxing on a windowsill, and he's got like his knee up, and he's just like watching, being the emoest kid ever. And it's important to note, like when Nymeria comes up, she's a little shook because Ghost is there, and I guess Ghost is growing way faster than the other ones. So Ghost is about twice the size of Nymeria, and like he cuts him off, while John's looking, because John's just kind of watching, like he's not paying too much attention, and Ghost is like, "Who are you?" And then as soon as like Ghost smells Nymeria, he's like, "Oh, what up, sis?" And like just licks her, and it's not a thing. But John sees Arya because of this, and he's like, "Ain't you supposed to be sewing?" And Arya is just like, "Ooh, I want to watch the fight," because specifically she wants to see Robb put Joffrey on his ass. Right? Like, in her head, like, that's why she was gonna go. She's like, I want to see Sansa's boyfriend get beat up, basically. And she seems to believe Robb is the man to do it, right? So Jon, kind of instantly, he's just like, yeah, all right. And, like, you know, messes up her hair and stuff, because I guess her and Jon are, they've always been pretty close, because, you know, I mentioned she looks more like her dad than the rest of her siblings, so she was worried she might be a bastard, because Jon looks a lot more northern and everything, and, you know, Jon, like, assured her, but they've always kind of been like the outcasts together. It's like the punk rocker and the emo kid, you know, like, they're to the side of the other ones that are all pretty and whatnot. So I guess they hang out a lot, and he's real friendly and approving, and jumps up, and they're kind of watching. And meanwhile, they're both of the noble kids, you know, like Tomlin, the chunky guy, and little Bran is they're like, picture like Ralphie from A Christmas Story. Like, they're just like covered in pads, just non-stop, and they're like, they got these padded swords, and they're just whacking each other, you know, like running around. And she's kind of like, nah. You know, I wanted to see like the fight. It's not like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men whacking each other with sticks. But, you know, Jon's like, yeah, it's a little more exhausting than sewing and stuff. And Arya she's like, it's a little more fun than sewing. And, you know, Jon approves, and they're watching, and she's like, why aren't you down here? Like, why are you up here with me? And Jon, straight up, he's just like, they don't let bastards beat up princes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not allowed to hit nobles and stuff. And they both kind of like share a moment of life's unfair. And then it turns out little Bran gets over on Tomlin, and Tomlin's like rolling around exactly like Ralphie from A Christmas Story, just stuck on the ground like a turtle. And little Bran's just sitting there, you know, like 7. He's like got his arms up, like, I'm gonna bop you as soon as you get up, because he doesn't want to hit him on the floor. And, you know, Arya's sitting there, and she's like, I could do better than Bran. I mean, I'm 9, he's only 7. And like, Jon kind of looks at her and stuff, and he you know, he like grabs her arm and stuff, and he's like, I don't know, man, you're really skinny. I'm not sure you could even lift a longsword, you know. But they kind of go back, because at that point it's like, all right, get the kids out their armor and stuff. And Roderick, who's standing there, you know, kind of overseeing everything, because he's the master at arms, so he's got to train these kids to be knights. Theon is posted up, just contempt face, just, you know, like over by Robb. And Robb's sweaty, so like, I guess stuff already went down. And then you have like the Lannisters on the other side, like all squatted up, hanging around the prince, you know, like Joffrey. And Roderick's like, all right, Robb, Joffrey, square up, you know. And Joffrey is like, this is a kid's game, you know. And he's being whatever. And Jon actually calls him a little shit, which is funny. And they're talking for a little bit, you know, before this, sizing them up. And Jon's like, look how prideful they are. Like, you realize, like, that's the royal arms right here. And he split it in half with his mom's house, you know, because he's wearing like the antlers and stuff from the from the Baratheons. And then half of it's the Lion of the Lannisters. Like, he didn't even adopt the royal, you know, coat of arms. And she's like, what, the woman's important too, you know? And he's like, oh yeah, you should split your coat of arms, you know? And then she's like, that'd be a wolf with a fish in his mouth. Like, that looks stupid. And he's like, well, you could. And she's like, I don't know why I get on arms when I'm not allowed to fight, you know, because they won't let her fight. And Jon's like, well, I mean, you're lucky. Like, Like, you get the arms, not the sword. I get the sword, not the arms. You know, and they have like another little bonding moment. But Joffrey, when he walks out, he's like, this is for little kids and stuff. And he's like, we're just swatting at each other or whatever. And Rob's like, last I heard, you were taking more swats than you were given, you know, because apparently Rob had already tuned him up a little bit, like in the first match. And that's why I think he's like acting out, you know, because he does that like little entitled rich kid thing where he tries to up the stakes and get his street cred. Because he's like, fine, let's do live steel. Like, we'll use real swords, you know. And Rob is standing there. He's just like, I'm your Huckleberry, you know, because like as soon as he's like, this is a game for kids, Theon laughs and he's like, y'all are kids, because Theon's 19 and, you know, Rob's 14, Joffrey's 12 and stuff. And he's like, fine, you know, like, let's do it or whatever. And Roderick's like, no, you know, I think because he knows like Joffrey's trying to put him in a situation where he's gonna cut Joffrey, you know, and stuff. And he's like, no, okay, y'all ain't ready for live steel. This is too dangerous. And I think Joffrey kind of knew that's how it was gonna go, because he's basically trying to get out of the fight. Like, Rob even tells him, he's like, oh, what's the matter, you chicken, you know? And that's when Clegane, you know, because they're saying like, oh, he ain't ready or whatever, with his burn old face, he walks out and stuff. And he's like, I don't see a problem. Like, this is the prince. He wants a real sword. Who are you to tell him he can't have a real sword? Because they're like squatted up talking and he's trying to like save his ego or whatever. And Roderick is like, I am the master of arms of Winterfell, you know, like, and like putting him back in his place. And he's like, you put some respect on my name, right? And he's like, and if I say they ain't ready, you know, they ain't ready. And he's like, I didn't know we were raising women out here, you know, like Clegane, because he's trying to talk crap, you know, for Joffrey. Like, just picture like the little rich bully squad, you know. And Roderick's like, I'm raising knights, you know, which I took that to be kind of cutting. Like maybe you should watch what your boy's saying. He's being a little bitch, you know. But like, it doesn't heavily imply that, but it implies that Roderick is as mad, you know. And like they're talking, and he's like, how old are you, Rob? You know, and this is why I pictured it like Clegane being a little, you know, on Joffrey's behalf, because he's like, how old are you, Rob? And Rob's like, I'm 14, and he's like, I killed someone when I was 12, and guess what? I didn't do it with no blunt sword, because Roderick relents because you know, Rob is like, look, dude, just give me the sword. I can take him, you know? And I get, like, the feeling because Arya wanted to see Joffrey get his ass kicked, and just the way Rob was like, it ain't a thing. I got this, you know? Like, Rob can't take Joffrey, you know? And I think Roderick knows that, so he's like, what about tournament swords? We'll just do blunt swords. That'll work. You know, and that's when Clegane's talking. He's like, I didn't do it with no blunted sword, you know, because he's trying to back Joffrey's little bluff or whatever, and potentially get Rob in like a whole lot of trouble, you know. And Roderick's like, nothing doing, like no live steel, period, right? And then Joffrey's like, oh, come see me when you're a man, Rob, you know. Because he just played the system to get out of the fight. So he's talking crap. And Rob loses it at this point. Because Rob's like, y'all trying to play me, make me look like a bitch. I'm going to fuck you up. Because it says like he's cursing, right? And luckily Theon's right there. And Theon knows Rob. And he knows that Rob is about to maul Joffrey. So he like clamps his arms and stuff. And he's like, no. You know, like, don't go beating up princes, you know. And meanwhile, Joffrey is like, you know, like fake yawns. calls to his little brother who just got his ass whooped by Bran, and he's like, come on, let's let the kids play with their little toys, like, we gotta go, you know. And like they all like saunter off laughing because they're like bully squad laughing in tandem and stuff. Meanwhile, this is setting Rob off even worse, and Theon's like death gripping him like, don't kill princes, right? And Rob's like, I'm a Stark, you know, like straight up, because you know he's gonna be the Lord of Winterfell. And they like saunter off, and that's when, you know, John's kind of like, all right, I guess the show's over. You better get back, you know. And Arya's like, and he's like, look, dude, the longer it takes someone to find you, the more you're gonna get punished, man. If you take too long, like, you're just gonna be sewing all summer. And she's like, I hate sewing, you know. And she takes off, right? And then it's worse because like when she gets back, it's not even the Septa, it's like the Septa and her mom. So like the Septa went and got Caitlyn, and that's when the chapter ends. It's like right when she walks in, like, oh, you in trouble. So that is what is it, chapter 6, chapter 7? I think it's chapter 7, Arya. So this was Tory Torrential, and I love you. I don't know why I paused. Yeah, so this is Tory Torrential, and I love you. Thanks for watching my show. Like and subscribe.